Warning, here on Modern Femme-ily, we may look like ladies, but some of our favorite words are 4 short little letters. Our ages lend everyone to believe that we are adults, so we may use adult language some find offensive. We also tend to get serious sometimes. We may discuss sensitive topics that may be triggering to some viewers. Basically, we have opinions, we discuss them, and we swear a lot in the process. Welcome to Modern Femme-ily. Join us here every Friday at 8 p.m. live, where we discuss everything from a woman's point of view. Sometimes it's funny and lighthearted, and sometimes we aren't. With us, you never know what you're going to get. With our host and resident lesbian Cassie and our LGBTQIA+ ally Molly, nothing is off limits. You never want to miss an episode as we talk to women and allies from all walks of life. And you can always, always expect to laugh. So sit back, relax, and join us for the next hour, while we laugh and joke and have a good time. So come on, what are you waiting for? Now is when the good part starts.
Hello, awesome humans. Welcome to another week of Modern Femme-ily. My name is Cassie, your host and resident lesbian. And welcome back. I don't know about all of you, but I can surely tell you that this week was a week full of Mondays. So I'm so glad that it is Friday. And I'm so glad I get to spend it with y'all. But I'm not going to chat a whole lot in the beginning here because I want to bring out my co-host. We have some things we'd like to discuss. So I'm going to bring her right out. We'll tell you where you can find us, and we're going to jump right into the point of tonight's episode. So let me bring in Molly. Hi.
Hello. Welcome back. We made it through yet another week. Yes. It's Friday, Bridges. I'm so excited. And praise be. I have a 3-day freaking weekend coming up, and I am so excited for that.
Facts. Me too.
So excited. I haven't had a 3-day weekend since Memorial Day.
Right. But it seems like it was forever ago.
Yeah. Forever. Yeah. But here we are. We made it yet, folks. Through another week. We did it.
Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back. We made it. Yeah.
I'm so happy and excited that we made it to our 3-day weekend.
Oh my gosh, I know. I'm like, I didn't even make plans because I just want, in the sense, probably just to chill. And oh my gosh, so I have a lot of organizing to do.
Yeah.
A lot of things to do.
We are traveling this weekend.
Awesome.
So it's gonna be a lot, and I'm already tired, but I'm excited because I get to spend the next week working from my in-laws' house. So,
well, and by a lake. I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah, I said this week we were talking internally in our company, and I said, I get to recharge and be on vacation and still work and not have to use vacation.
Right. That's nice.
Yeah, it's great because after work I can, go swimming or go kayaking or,
right.
Do nothing and still recharge, because for me, being on the water or, whether it be the beach, the lake, a pool, it's super recharging for me.
But yeah, being just, I think out in nature is super, and just coming back to center, and
yeah, so I'm super excited about that. And my wife has off all week. Her employer, they take vacation around the 4th, so she has off all week, so she'll be able to spend lots of time with her mom, and I'm super thankful that I have the ability to work from there. And yeah, it'll be fun. I'm not looking forward to the long ass drive.
drive. Well, and I feel like preparing for like trips is just even as exhausting as traveling for said trip.
Yeah. No, thankfully we travel overnight, so like we don't
Right.
hit traffic and things like that. But I also can't see very well to drive at night. Like this, the lights fuck with my eyes. So
Sorry.
yeah, so my wife does a lot of the driving, thankfully. So
Yeah.
I do a lot of the riding, which is just as exhausting as driving, but she puts in all the hard work. So
See, I'm like, I don't know what it is with like driving. I'm kind of like a control freak when that happens. Like, I kind of insist on driving on road trips. And because if not, I'm the worst passenger driver. I will tell you about yourself driving. Yeah, I will.
yeah, no, I like, and I with her and I've had this conversation several times. Like, it's not her driving that I worry about; it's all the other a-holes out there that I worry about.
No, I worry about
So
driving. He almost like ran us into the back of a city freaking bus. So,
there's
yeah.
that.
However, his argument is he's never like been in a wreck, and he's never, well, now he has, but he had never gotten a ticket. Well, I, on the other hand, have been pulled over 13 times and I've only gotten one ticket. So I was like, well, obviously, like, I'm really good at getting out of tickets, but
Right, your record's great. Like,
yeah.
you're good.
But also, I have like so much more experience than you do because I've been driving a lot longer.
This is true.
I know, because I'm old.
Me too.
I was just like thinking about that the other day of like how long I've been driving. Yo, a long time.
Yeah.
Long freaking time.
No, I'm right there with you. Like yep. And I'm older than you. So
I know. The funny thing is like, I remember when I was younger and I was like, I love this. And this is when we lived in a trailer park. And my dad would set us on his lap and like, we would have the steering wheel and we would get like, once we pulled into the park, he'd put us on his lap and then I would drive and then he'd have the everything. Oh my gosh, I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And then I like drive home. Oh, I loved it.
I remember growing up in the middle of nowhere. Like it's so being at my grandmother's house and like all of my aunts and uncles and cousins and everyone would be there and we would have like 15 cars. And my cousins and I would take turns like moving cars around because we wanted to drive the cars around like the field. So we could repark cars. And like we'd have aunts and uncles come out and be like, "Where the hell is my car?" Oh, it's down there. I moved it. And they're like, "Oh, okay." But like that's like our first like experience with driving.
Yeah.
My cousin wasn't so much allowed to do that a whole lot because she ran a four-wheeler into the side of my grandmother's house.
Oh no.
She was eventually allowed to do it with us too, but yeah, she drove my other cousin's four-wheeler into the side of my grandmother's house, and they were like, "Yeah, no." She's like, "I didn't know where the brake was." They were like, "That's a problem."
Yeah, you need to know that before you get on. Safety tip.
Yeah, and thankfully she wasn't going very fast, and I thought it was hilarious. But my grandmother was like, "You could have drove into my, whatever room it was."
Listen, I get that because being on like four-wheelers and stuff, like especially if you haven't been on them for a really long time, there's a lot of torque, man. And then like sometimes like kind of panic and forget everything that I've ever been taught, like ever.
Right, these things do have brakes. Where?
I'm like, trying to figure it out. My feet are going like this, trying to like find wherever the brake may be.
Right, when the brake's here. Like
literally. I actually had a four-wheeler though. It was the foot. It was your right foot. You like that. Yeah, that was annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I like that.
Many times where I almost ran into the barn.
Reese just said Matt drove my mom's station wagon into my grandfather's garage, and I don't mean inside the garage.
Oh my gosh, that's
Matt is her middle brother.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yep. Oh. Funny story. I'll tell it really quickly and then we can get back. Same thing. Not same thing. Like my sister didn't run something into anything. But what she did do was we just moved to my parents' place, what they own now, and where I evidently ended up growing up. But just got a 4-wheeler because it was 47 acres of like discovery, right? So, and then my dad had a cat and he was building roads. Well, it had rained a lot, so some of the roads had washed out because they weren't set yet. And my sister was going up to go find my dad with the new 4-wheeler and got to a part of the road that had slid and it wasn't settled. And so like she started sliding down on the 4-wheeler off this embankment. So she just jumps off, right? And watches this 4-wheeler go end over end over end and then finally hit this tree. Listen, my mom and I are like out in the barn doing like barn work. And all of a sudden we just hear my sister like come barreling down the hill. Like, pray for me, guys, pray for me. And we're like, what is happening? They're like, pray for me, pray for me. And we're like, first off, okay, but what are we praying for, Morgan? She's like, I just wrecked the 4-wheeler. Dad's gonna kill me. Please pray for me.
Right, you're like, oh, okay, we get it now.
Yeah, I was like, you know, like it was so funny. Oh my gosh, sorry. That just reminded me of that story.
That's great.
Oh, I know.
So I'm gonna let everybody know where they can find us real
yes.
quick. And now then we're gonna tell them what special thing we're doing this evening, and we're gonna jump into our hot topic of discussion.
Yeah.
So make sure you are following us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We go live on Facebook and YouTube every Friday at 8 p.m. Typically every Friday. Sometimes we have to take Fridays off.
Girls got a life sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Not always,
yeah.
but sometimes. So make sure you follow us on all of them. It's Modern Femme-ily, all spelled the same way, except for Instagram. There are no dashes in the name. It's all one squished together word. But the most important thing,
don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, because you never know what's going to happen with us.
Honestly, we could have a topic and then be totally derailed. Happens sometimes. Actually, a lot.
I say it happens a lot. That's just how we are.
ADHD brain, man. ADHD brain.
Squirrel.
Seriously.
Yeah,
no.
That's us.
Yes.
So tonight we're going to do things a little bit different. We are going to touch on some very sensitive and hot topics. So, you know, trigger warning, to quote a friend of mine, spoiler alert.
You're right.
Not really how that works, but you know, all the things.
Yeah.
Because we are going to be talking about some very sensitive topics this evening. But I wanted to give everyone the option and the ability, if you're able to talk about things in a respectful manner, without coming to argue, because we are a safe space for all opinions. However, we also can see things from other points of view and be willing to discuss them, but you have to be willing to do your part as well. So with that being said, if you're watching and you want to join, let me know. I will send you the link to join our StreamYard, and you can come on and hop in and, you know, voice your opinion. Let us know, you know,
partake in the discussion.
Yeah, partake in a discussion, you know, just chat with us.
It's almost like radio shows where they would like call in.
Yeah.
Call in, you're on. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. We'll bring you on and you can discuss with us because there are some very unnerving things that are happening in our world right now, particularly in the US. I don't even remember what day it was because it just was it last Friday?
It was Friday.
Because it just shook our world so much that I was like,
well, and I had some thought over this too. So we're referencing what things that are in like the media right now that you've probably read or have watched on social media, you know, especially the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Yeah. And like, it's almost like them leaking it gave me a chance to kind of like process it, not necessarily accept it, but process it, because we had that first episode, right? And for me, it was very emotional. I was very upset, and I hate using emotional, especially when it comes to like women, because it can be used in a very derogatory term or be like you're hysterical, you're emotional. But so let's just say I was very passionate about it.
Right.
And now it's almost like, okay, I mean, I kind of knew what was going to happen, right? So you kind of was able to get used to that kind of feeling, right? But then the
kind of sit with it for a minute.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then the reality hits when it's announced. And you're just like, what?
I saw a meme that said, "Don't forget to turn your clocks back 50 years."
Well,
and like it hit. I was like, wow.
Yeah, it's just rights are being taken away. And that's like, I didn't think we would be going in that direction. I thought we'd be going like in the other direction of like giving more rights to people, especially in the minority groups and things like that.
Right.
However, here we are. And
2022.
I just don't think something that can be debated as like philosophical or a moral obligation should be written into law. That's my stance.
Well, like when Molly and I have talked about this previously, you know, when the Constitution was written, abortion, let's just, put that one on the table. Abortion was not even a thing. And in the meaning of it was women's business.
Right. It was still done.
Right.
And the thing too is like, whether or not you think it's right or wrong, there still is a need for there to be safe access to abortions. It's been happening since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
So there I feel like we can acknowledge that whether or not you think it's right or it's wrong, it's still happening.
It's just happening, was happening safely.
Right. And again, I'm all for what you choose to do is your choice.
It's your business.
We were given free will, and unfortunately, some people might not agree with the choices that you make. But again, it's your choice.
Well, and I'll put that in a different light, right? I do not like facial tattoos. I don't like neck tattoos.
Right.
I don't think they look good on anybody. So I'm going to choose to not get a neck or a facial tattoo.
Right.
But if you so choose to get one, it's your right to do so.
Absolutely. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm going to go get abortion after an abortion after abortion. Honestly, I think kids are a blessing. I can't wait to have children. However, to be in that predicament of like possibly having to choose, whatever that might be, that choice, emotionally would wreck me. I already know it. Right. But I'm also here to say like, it's your choice on what you want to do.
Well, and like some states are still, because they basically gave it back to the states to make the decision if it's legal or illegal or controlled in any sort of way. Right. Like they said, okay, it's not a federal matter anymore. It's up to the states. And there are some states who have done away with medically necessary terminations.
That's the really, really scary part, right? Is those 23 states that are real just not for abortions, right? Or in any aspect. It's really unsafe to be a woman in those states, and that's super scary.
Yeah, because like I've read so many articles, and of course, TikTok is flooded with stuff right now. Some, well thought out and executed, some just people ranting and bitching and but like I've seen nurses who have said like, we had a woman come in, she had an ectopic pregnancy. Mm-hmm. We had to, because it was after Roe v. Wade was overturned. Yeah. And they had to wait for clearances, and they said we literally watched her almost die because it ruptured in that time frame. Yeah. And we had to wait because had we saved her life, we could have been prosecuted.
That's really scary too. Right. Yeah.
Like, and, you know, there are some circumstances where, you know, unfortunately, that cell will never turn to a fetus, which will never result in a human life. And if it does, it's not viable outside of the mother's body.
Right.
But here we are forcing a woman in whether she tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, or, you know, it was an unfortunate circumstance, regardless of how this came to be, this is never going to result in a life that is going to sustain outside of the womb.
Right.
Or that has already passed in the womb. And now
Yeah.
we're telling women that you have to carry, give birth, or have a C-section, which is a whole nother, it's a major surgery to have no result. You have to bury that child.
Right.
Like, you know, do I think I could have an abortion? No, I don't think I could.
Right.
Unless it was, you know, medically necessary or, you know, something along those lines. However, if you're telling me I have to carry this child that's no longer alive inside of me, to have to bury it 2 hours after I give birth,
Right.
you know, or hold my child in my arms while it dies, like, it's heartbreaking.
Well,
Like,
and yeah, it's just the also the aspect of, like, again, not having control of our own, and not like our own autonomy.
yeah.
And I mean, can we talk about how if I wanted to get a hysterectomy, I'd have to get permission from my husband?
I wouldn't be able to because I'm married to a woman.
Yeah. And that's what we're really arguing for. And again,
Yeah.
if you like, again, like, it's a moral concept. Is it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's moral, or do you think it's immoral? It's a judgment. It's an opinion. Because you can also argue that, you know, life happens at conception, but then there's also like, but you can't tell when actually conception is, right? So when does that
Right.
actually start? And then there's also other belief systems where they think it starts at birth, when the child takes its first breath. I breathe life into, like, that's when
Right.
they're, you know, deemed a human and whatever. But let's just talk about, like, if you have viability out of the womb is at 24 weeks. Anything
Right.
before that, it's not going to survive. Like 23 to 24 weeks, you can do like medical intervention and hope and a prayer, and they can survive. Anything before that, they cannot survive.
Right. It's not medically possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then, like, you can also talk about, you know, what is life? If you think in a medical sense, life is measured in brain activity, not just because your heart is beating.
Right.
You know, when people pull the plug, it's based off of brain activity.
I was going to say, like, you think about it when you're at the end of life or you have a tragic accident.
Right.
They're not measuring your heartbeat. They're measuring that brain activity.
Right.
If they take you off of life support, are you going to be brain dead?
Right.
Like, that's what they don't say, oh, was their heart going to keep beating? It's brain activity, like you said.
Yeah. And again, it's the choice of whether or not you want to have a child. That's the choice that is being taken away from us. And I think that is very frustrating. And I mean, you can come with the action or the argument of, well, then, you know, just don't have sex. Unfortunately, that is not a viable option, right? There's studies shown that the abstinence teachings isn't successful, right? No. So, okay, then let's teach our kids about, you know, our well, not, I don't want to say kids, but, like, you know, the younger generations of what protected sex looks like. And then, I don't know, give us easy access to birth control. And crazy thing, let's not just put it on the woman. Let's give a man option as well, or make them get vasectomies, because those shits are reversible.
Well, and
you know,
a man can walk into a doctor's office.
Oh yeah.
And schedule a vasectomy. And if they have the availability and they do them the same day without anybody's permission.
Or like, we need to get a psych eval, or, you know, are you sure you don't want children before? Well, first off, a vasectomy is reversible. So
right. Yep.
No harm, no foul.
They basically unplug the charger.
Literally.
Like, that's exactly, you unplug it, and when you're ready to have kids, they just plug it back in.
I know. But, and then let's talk about the costs too of having a child. Heaven forbid you don't have a good job that has great insurance, because so then you're paying for these ungodly amount of appointments. Holy cow, are they expensive?
Yeah. Like,
and that's before they're even born.
Well, Reese actually put something up, and I'm going to read the second one and then put up her first comment. She said, "This is the government stance, and yet here we are." She said, "Let me put this out there. Pregnant women cannot claim their unborn children on their taxes because life begins at birth."
Right.
So with that being said, like, so if, you know, not everyone, but all of these people who are screaming from the rooftops, you know, you believe that life begins at conception. So if the male part of this life being conceived is not going to be part of that child's life, are they paying child support at the point of conception?
No, exactly. And then let's just talk about too the trials and tribulations of going through trying to get that child support. It can be months, sometimes years, of even seeing a payment.
Yeah, because they're not held accountable.
Again,
to do
I'm
that.
not saying that's across the board. I'm not saying every father is like that.
No, not
However,
at all.
there are people who suffer through that, right? And if they were given a choice at the beginning, they might not have, you know, gone through it to be in the predicament that they're in now. And again, that's their choice. And you can say that there's going to be emotional consequences, and there probably are.
There probably are, yeah.
But again, consequences of your actions. We are all adults now, and I can hopefully say that you understand that every action has a consequence.
Yep.
But again, it's your choice.
Yeah. And it's the same logic of walking across the street. If I don't look both ways and I get hit by a car, that's the consequence of my actions.
I mean, pray that you're in a pedestrian-friendly neighborhood.
Right.
But, no, exactly.
Every action has a reaction / consequence. It's just how nature works. Right. You know, so we, like you said, and like our intro says, our ages lend us to believe, or lends people to believe that we are adults. Right?
Yeah.
So if we're deemed adults and we have sex, whether it be protected or unprotected, because we know condoms and birth control don't always 100% work.
Absolutely.
But we go into that scenario knowing the possible consequence. However, it's not always that simple.
Right. Exactly. Because sometimes, unfortunately, being a woman, sometimes we don't have a choice on whether or not that action is being done to us. And that's unfortunate. And that's a whole other topic, or a whole other show we can get into, of the injustices of being a woman on a daily basis. Unfortunately, some people just take whatever they want. Yeah. And that could be anything. But specifically sex, unfortunately, it happens. Yep. So not only do I have to deal with the trauma of that act, but the the idea of not being able to have a choice in that scenario especially bothers me.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know some people who their parents or their mom has been in that predicament and they're here today, and I'm so freaking thankful. They're the best person. However, there was a choice that was going to be made.
Right. And it was a choice that she had.
Right. And it was up to her.
Yeah.
Whether or not she wanted to go through with whatever emotional trauma that was going to even add to what was already done.
Right. But, and we keep going back to it, and it's an unfortunate statement because it's what we always go back to. It was a choice.
It's a choice. And,
you know, and it wasn't her choice to be put into that situation.
Exactly.
So one choice was taken from her.
Thank you.
But she had a choice to finalize the outcome. You know?
I just feel like we've been fighting for forever. I mean, look at the in the 1600s, the Salem, the witch trials. I mean, around the world, women have been prosecuted and persecuted and made as nothing, right? I mean, shoot, there were eras where we were literally property and our husbands and men could literally do whatever they wanted with us.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, we were coming so far.
Why are we going backwards?
Thank you. And I don't want to be the horn blower of it seems apocalyptic or it seems like Handmaid's Tale type stuff. But at what point is that reality?
Right. At what point is fiction now fact?
Because you're taking away these rights. What other rights are you going to be able to overturn and take? Well, or have done so already?
Right. Well, and I saw it was a political cartoon that had the bills lined up, right? All of these documents. Mm-hmm. And it said Roe v. Wade was the first, mm-hmm. and it was the door opening to all of these, and it was same-sex marriage. There was a couple other, and I can't think of what they were. But for me, I'm married to a woman, legally married.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because and then because you can also read articles where it's the majority of the justice, the Supreme Court, don't favor that type of decision. However, y'all just overturned Roe v. Wade and what felt like in just a whim. So
right.
You can use the same logic that you used on Roe v. Wade for these other things as well. That's the scary part. So on a whim, whatever the wind may blow, you may feel
greases that pocket enough,
then you're going to attack. And again, it all comes down to choice. I might not agree. Honestly, I could care less what people do in their private life as long as it doesn't hurt me or other people.
Right.
I could care less what you do. And if you don't support, if you don't agree with it, that's fine. That's what's supposed to be great about this country is you can come, be who you want and are physically, mentally, and still be able to live and have the same rights as somebody that looks differently from you, come on.
Yeah. And I say we, I didn't fight because this was prior, to me. This was past generations fought so hard for same-sex couples to, one, not be outlawed because it's so it was illegal to have sex with someone of the same sex. Mm-hmm. And then they fought so hard to be able to be married and have equal rights and be able to give their spouse insurance in their company that they work for.
Thank you.
And just have the same everything as a heterosexual couple. Mm-hmm. And I've had this conversation with my wife, we don't fight about gay things, right? We fight about who's going to walk the dog and do the dishes.
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's nothing special about being gay. I just happen to go to sleep next to someone who's the same sex as me.
Right.
But it's nothing out of the norm. Like,
well, it's your normal. And again, what's the basis
right.
of normal? That there is no such thing.
Right.
However, there is no however. But again, it comes down to choice. Yeah. Whether or not I think it's a moral argument, whether it's morally right or morally wrong, is not for me to judge. Right. It's not for me to judge.
Well, and
I got too much of my own shit I gotta deal with. Like,
right, thank you. It's my choice to live my authentic self life.
Right. And whatever your belief system is, if you're the one that has to pay the consequences if there ever is any. So again, why is it anybody else's business?
Right.
I'm not gonna be paying for your sins. I'll be paying for my own.
Right. Well, and Alacia and I last week kind of touched on some of this. But they say that, God or whoever your belief system, lends you to follow, created, all of us, right? Mm-hmm. And they do not make mistakes. I didn't choose to be gay, because if I had the choice, I would be married to a man with 2.5 kids, a dog, and a house. Because it's easier. Exactly.
Because that's what's acceptable.
Right. That's what everyone, especially not everyone, but a lot of people in our general vicinity of where we live, mm-hmm. We live in a very red area. So it's more acceptable and it's more socially norm. So for me to stand up and be like, no, I am gay. Like,
right.
Tried the dudes. Some of them were all right. But I prefer women. But it would just be easier if I could just be like, nah, I'm going to marry a guy.
Right.
But if my creator doesn't make mistakes, and my creator is going to be who judges me at the end of my life, if so, be it, who are you to judge me when my creator is judging you as well?
Well, and that's where like the free will comes in. So, right. And again, whether or not you may think it's right or it's wrong, I'm still going to do what is in my heart feels right. Right. And I'm going to live my best life. I'm going to be loved like Christ did. And then at the end, I have to go through the judgment off the actions that I have made. Right. And I have done. And whether or not, sorry. I have like a million things rushing through my head right now that want to all come out. So I just got to get them sorted out right now.
Gotta put them in files real quick.
Yes.
But no, absolutely. Like I'll go back to like a very plain Jane like thing. Like, so you may not think that it's a good idea for me to jump out of a plane with a parachute strapped to my back, right?
But it's never a good idea.
But it's my life. And exactly. If I choose to make that choice, I put my faith that parachute is going to open, and I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But it's not hurting anybody else.
No.
Because I'm not, grabbing onto you and wrapping my arms and legs around you and being like, come on, bitch, let's go. Like, yeah. Against your free will, forcing you to do something. Although I probably would, try and talk you into it as a friend. But.
Yeah, never would happen. Those, slides at, the fair?
Yeah.
I can't walk up to the top. I'm not jumping out of a plane.
All right, so note to self, Molly will never go skydiving with me. Okay.
No.
Good to know. But again, that's your free will to not do it, and it's my free will to do it.
Yeah, and again, I'm pretty sure God doesn't want us to murder, but again, it's a choice. People do it. God doesn't want us to, go and take things away from people outside of their will. But here it is, it's happening. And again, they're going to have to face the consequences of that.
Exactly.
Not me. And again, whether or not I think whatever lifestyle or your choice of having an early term abortion isn't going to affect me. It's not going to affect like my character. It's not that it's going to affect anybody else's character. That's not what I want to like say either. But
Right.
again, it's not. I'm not going to. It's not my judgment. It's not mine.
Yeah.
It's not my choice. It's your choice. And we have a choice.
Well, and hearing you say that, like my aunt and I, who's been on the show, had, you know, a very deep conversation. I think I may have told you about this before. She's like, you know, myself as a Christian, she's like, it's not my job to judge.
Right.
It's my job to love and encourage and be there for my fellow human and just love unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, it's not my job to judge.
No.
And like it hit. I was like, that's like the most truest statement I've ever heard, because you're right.
Right. Well, and like honestly, because like people can also argue like, you know, go and make disciples, and that's in like you're supposed to go, you like learn, accept, and go and make disciples in the name of Christ. But I would I would like you to feel God's love through my love.
Right.
That's how I feel I show the word of because God has loved me so much that I'm going to love you so much. And this is what it feels like.
Right. But again, you're sharing that knowledge and that, you know, worship through love.
Right. Well, and again, I think that the church is more of like the community sense than like the building sense. Again, that could be, I lost my train of thought, but that is kind of a hot topic within the church itself.
Right.
But
I say that can be deciphered in many different ways.
Yeah,
that's just how you feel on it.
Exactly.
But again, like we said earlier,
the community aspect of it, the loving, the coming together, the supporting, the helping people out when they need help, because that's what Christ would do.
Right.
Right. He wasn't with, and I'm getting a little preachy, but like he surrounded himself, let's talk about this for just a second, with whores, with tax collectors, which at that time were the bottom of the barrel. Like nobody associated with tax collectors. They were like filth. He associated themselves with them. The lowest of the low fishermen associated themselves with them. All are welcome.
Right. All are welcome.
And that's what I like to represent, and that's what I believe.
Right. And I just wish more people were like that, because as a gay woman, like, you know, I may not so much identify as like a certain type of religion, right? But I am a very spiritual person. But I don't care what you look like. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care, you know, who you lay down next to at night. I would give you my last dollar. I would give you the shirt off of my back. Like that's how I was raised.
Right.
Like you do good for people in the world and you get that back. And like I don't know how else to say it. Like I would do anybody for anything, or I would do anything for anybody.
Well, I mean, sometimes depending on the person.
You know, I had my shady days when I was, you know, younger. Yeah. But I would do anything for anybody, and like I'm being told that basically I don't matter.
Well, and that's the frustrating part, I think, as well, is again, we're kind of like, there's so much knowledge, right, that it can be found. So we know so much about different cultures, we know so much about history, and it's literally in your palm of your hand, right?
Right. We carry around computers now, folks.
Right. So I feel like we would be very enlightened, very kind of knowledgeable, and of the times we are in, if that makes sense. So like I feel like the things that are happening aren't reflecting the year that we're in, if that makes sense.
No, thank you. Like I remember watching movies and TV shows when I was a kid, and they're like 2022, 2023, we're gonna have flying cars and, you know, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, we're just now getting electric cars. Y'all lied to me.
No, seriously.
But we've come so far.
in technology wise, but I feel like in law and rights wise, whoo,
right. Like we have all this crazy
man,
technology, but you literally just told women that we don't matter. We don't get a choice
we don't get a choice.
in our healthcare or our, like, because it's not just, let's be clear, like Roe v. Wade does not just reverse abortion.
Mm-hmm.
It, you know, takes away body autonomy. It takes away medical privacy.
Mm-hmm.
It takes away the fact that if you have a period tracking app on your phone, or, you know, ovulation, or, you know, anything of that nature, it can be pulled, subpoenaed and held against you.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that, like, we're being told not to buy feminine products with debit cards and credit cards anymore, or at the same store more than once, because it can be tracked.
I know.
And like the government can use that against you. Like
this,
what?
well, yeah, for the states that you live in, that people live in, who are going to take the steps to, you know, prosecute. And yeah, it's really scary. And like we kind of mentioned before, like there's like, I feel like this is also opening up thing for other laws to be overturned, like the Miranda right law.
Yeah.
Police officers don't have to necessarily, not that they, it's an option now whether or not they redo the Miranda rights, and if they don't, you can no longer sue, or, you know, they won't get in trouble, which I'm
right.
like,
You can't get
what?
out of things, because before, if they didn't read you Miranda rights, it was basically like, you dumbass, now we can't charge them with anything.
Right, and, exactly.
And
but
now
also a safe way so that everybody, whether what education they've received, what demographic they're in, if they're in a lower poverty, everybody knew what their rights were. And like, now, I mean, growing up on like CSI and like Law and Order, like I know my rights. I can read those to you. However, like the younger generations aren't going to. And so let's keep that in mind, peeps. If you're going to go and protest, be careful.
Have your voice heard. Like, it is important for us to do this, and let's be honest, we want to say peacefully, but Pride, and we're just coming out of Pride Month, so I'm going to use this as an example. Pride was a riot. Okay. Mm-hmm. It started at the Stonewall riots, when the woman who would now be considered a transgender woman threw a brick through a window.
Right.
Like, she had enough of everyone's bullshit, and she was ready to be heard. And trust me when I say, I will set a town on fire. And I don't mean literally. Like, I'm not an arsonist. Girl,
we are on, like, public access.
Right. Like, I'm not literally going to set things on fire. But I am the daughter of a very loud man. I am the daughter of a very loud family. And I am passionate. Right. I love hard. And I have opinions. Mm. And damn it, I'm not on the wrong side of these things.
Well, and they've said, like, I've read before, where like riots are the language of people who have been continuously not heard.
Yes. When you protest peacefully, and, you know, when you do things as a law-abiding citizen, and you are oppressed, and you are jailed, and you are, you know, literally thrown to the ground and treated like an amoeba on scum on the bottom of someone's shoe.
Right.
There becomes a point where you're just like, you know what? Fuck it. If you're going to throw me in jail anyway, I might as well give you a reason to do it.
Right. Well, I know. Well, you know? I mean, don't go out and riot and
exactly. Let's use our brains, humans. You know, we have evolved, we have, you know, grown, but there is going to come a time when people are not heard. Well, and it's going to erupt.
Yeah. And I think it needs to start locally. You know, let's get involved with our local government, with what's going on. I know that there's a lot of elections coming up. They're really important. And
Yeah. We have one in Pennsylvania. It's super important in November.
It is. And just, read your stuff. And again, whether or not you have the same opinion as I do, still,
Right.
Open up your mind and read other things outside of maybe what you always read, or like, especially in the news outlet that you always watch, mother and father. Because I do the same thing, right? I don't
absolutely.
just one side of something. I like to see arguments on both.
And I think it's very important because nowadays people don't talk about politics because it gets very heated and it becomes emotional, and people are too hard-headed to talk and have a discussion and see things from other points of view. And Molly and I have a mutual friend, coworker that we don't see very often anymore because we don't work in the office. But we used to be able to sit down because we don't have aligned political views.
Right.
But we could sit and talk and sometimes get very passionate about things. But it was nice because there were certain things that I did not know that he taught me that I was like, oh,
I didn't realize, or I didn't know that. Right.
Right. I didn't realize that. And vice versa.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
so,
because he had no idea about when I told him the fact about like me going in and having to have my husband's signature for a hysterectomy. He was like, oh my gosh, I never knew that. Like, yeah.
Like, and unfortunately, that was still a law when Roe v. Wade was in.
Yeah, was intact.
Right. Like,
right.
That was not something that just changed. Like, that unfortunately has always been.
Well, and I think it's because like people, and it goes on both sides, right? So people come into a conversation about politics or something with the intent of changing the other person's mind.
Yeah.
That's not what a discussion is about. A discussion is, here's my point and here's my reasoning and logic behind that point.
Right.
Okay. And then they come back with their reasoning and their logic and their whatever. And then you discuss upon it.
Right.
But don't sit there and think you're going to change my mind. And I'm not going to be naive and think that my words are going to change your mind.
Right.
But what we can do is have a civil conversation about it.
Yeah.
Or at least the hope.
And unfortunately, I've had many, many, many conversations that, like, I did not plan to change people's minds at all. Like, it was a discussion that was happening. I jumped in and it did not end well. And sometimes, and they always say, don't let politics, take you away from your friends, your family. And absolutely, I have friends and family who do not share the same political views as me. But when you start taking away my rights as a woman and as a gay woman and telling me that I am less than, how am I less than you?
I know.
Like, that, I can't agree to disagree on. There are a lot that we can agree to disagree on. But when you start telling me that I don't matter and that you don't care what happens to me, what if the shoe was on the other foot?
Right. And I want to say too that, like, no, the words probably haven't been said that you don't care about us, but the actions. And, well, yeah. And there have been some words. Like, reading back through, like, not reading, but like thinking back to like some of the clips that I've seen these politicians make. I'm like, oh wow, okay.
Those are words. Yep, those are words. But think about the age-old saying of actions speak louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
So you may say that you love me, and you may say that you don't see me as X, Y, and Z, but when you do the complete opposite, just because you didn't say it doesn't mean I didn't see it.
Right.
And it's just, it sucks because I know I'm never going to change their mind, and they don't see me in any other light than of Cassie, which I am so appreciative of. Like, you don't look at me and see lesbian. You don't look at me and, see anything out of the norm. But I fall into those categories that you're telling don't matter.
Or
And
that
don't
have this, or aren't going to have the same rights as
right,
other.
they don't deserve the same rights as, say my straight sister.
Right.
Or my straight brother.
Right.
Like,
especially when it comes to marriage. And that's like, I was watching a video too of how like this lesbian couple, they, of course they were together before legalized marriage was legalized, and same-sex marriage. And they were just saying like all the documents that they put together before they were allowed to get married, just to ensure that their partner, like, they would have medical like say over it with whoever died. They'd make sure they get the mortgage type of a thing. And but unfortunately, not everybody has the ability or the means to do that.
yeah.
But you have the means to pay $60 to go to Justice of the Peace to just get married, so that you're already entitled to those things.
Yeah. Like, and that's something that unfortunately, Reese and I have to think about. And, we do want a family. So now we have to think about that, because now, IVF isn't protected either. Like, some states may not do IVF. And not saying that we're going to go that route, but if we decided to,
Right.
may not be an option. And, when we, are blessed with a family, what if something happens to me? Because I'll be the one carrying.
Mm-hmm.
Is she guaranteed to take our children? Like, if something happens to me?
I mean, that's when you have to put like a legal
will,
a living will.
right?
Exactly. But again, I mean, I think everybody should have a living will.
Absolutely.
So, because again,
you never know.
And there's so many crazy freaking laws that you might not know about. And
right. But case in point, if something happens to me during childbirth and I didn't get a chance because I was rushed to the hospital last, you know what I mean?
Biggest fear. Yeah.
Like, it's unfortunate that we have to think about that, because
I was reading an article, and this is like super scary, a little bit off topic, but not really. The mother's deaths during pregnancy, like giving birth, has gone up.
it
Like,
has.
girl, we are in the 21st century. We have all of this like medicine. That's just supposed to go down. That's so scary.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. That's so scary to me.
No, it's terrifying. And unfortunately, now with this being overturned, it's not a question of mother's life versus child's life. It's, well, we'll see which one lives.
Yeah. Well, and again, you're not supporting me after I have this kid.
Thank
right?
you.
I don't get free medical. I don't get free daycare. I still have to, like, heaven forbid, if I'm, not able to breastfeed. Let's talk about the freaking formula shortage. Y'all ain't helping there. You don't pay for my diapers. And what if I'm a single mother?
Right.
Right?
Who works because you make too much then.
I had I have a friend who's a single mom, and she texted me, was like, hey, can you go pick up my son right now? And I was like, oh shit, I don't have a car right now. No, I'm so sorry. So to be a mom in that predicament, right? You're at your job. You have to go pick up your kid. You're a single mother that does not have a support system because, I don't know, government hasn't set it up, but yet you're making me have this child. So
yeah.
Getting a little passionate again.
That's all right. It is 8:58, and I feel like we just started talking.
Seriously. But I'm again, I know, like, last show was like a 2-hour show. I can't do a 2-hour show, guys.
I need to go to bed at a reasonable time tonight because we're gonna have a really long day tomorrow and then a really long drive. So yeah. As much as I loved hanging out with everyone for 2 hours last week, we are not gonna do that again this week.
Right.
But I think, as things unfold and unfortunately, this is just the beginning, I fear. We'll talk about it more. And we'll leave those episodes as an open forum as well. So if anyone wants to jump in, all you have to do is put a message, in there. If you know Molly or I personally, you can always shoot one of us a text. Let us know, like, hey, I want to jump on. We can send you the link to join. Because I like that idea. Molly and I do share ideas and thoughts and beliefs on this topic, but we're open to discussing something that's different. Like, we're not closed off to that. So again, as long as you're willing to do it respectfully and not come on here and be like, you guys are wrong, you're assholes, you're gonna be
you
out.
can, but you'll be like moved to the waiting room and then popped out,
right?
And then what we may or may not make fun of you afterwards, which is super petty, but human.
Right. Yeah, I have the option on my control board to be like, remove, and I will gladly do that very quickly. But yeah, I think as things unfold, we should continue to have these tough decisions or tough discussions, because unfortunately it's real.
Well, and it's kind of cool because I do a lot of like reading beforehand, so like I'm learning a lot of stuff too, and that's really great. So that's I want to say, like, encourage to like read and like do research on it, and because there's a lot of stuff out there, but be really careful, guys, because there's also misinformation.
Yeah,
so
you can't always believe everything.
And .org, but be careful of .coms because them bitches get paid.
Yeah. So, but we're gonna keep up with that. Of course, we're still gonna have like our lighthearted, stupid shows.
Yeah,
because that's just who we are.
Well, I'm never like all the way serious all the time.
No, absolutely not. No. I mean, even after like a serious episode, we're both like, sorry guys, we ain't doing a 2-hour show. We're tired. Not gonna happen.
Peace out.
So, but because tonight's episode was pretty heavy, I do want to still do our what we're thankful for. That way we can just end on a nice light note where we're happy and we're smiling and we're not beating ourselves up or questioning our existence. So
every day.
Yeah. Molly, do you want to go first, or would you like me to
go?
No,
of course not. I'm not prepared.
Okay.
Even though we do this every week.
She'll come prepared one of these weeks,
Never.
I am super thankful that it is a long weekend. I know that seems stupid, but I'm super thankful that it is a long weekend.
Yeah.
When you work with people, sometimes you need a break from people. So I need a long weekend in my life, and I'm super thankful that I am super close with my in-laws, and vice versa. Like, my wife is super close with my mom and my stepdad. So I'm super thankful that I'm super close to my wife's family, and we get to go visit for a week. And then her father is taking care of Rex in the house. So if you're thinking of robbing the house, good luck. He's a feisty old man, and we have an 85-pound pit bull. You won't get very far. I mean, Rex might help you carry the TV, but he's a bunny. He'll be gone. So you're not going to make out with anything. It'll be broken in the yard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just super thankful for that, because sometimes you just need a break.
No, listen. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
But I was like, yep, that's it. That's what I'm thankful for.
No, it's been a lot. And I've been like super moody lately. And gonna get a little mushy, but listen, kudos to freaking Charlie for putting up with my grumpy ass. And my mood swings. It's been insane. But
work is super stressful. So like, I mean, I find myself lashing out for no reason. Like, the dog stepped on my foot earlier and I was like, in your bed.
Yes. And so like, luckily, because I am like a very self-reflectant type of person, or just recently, let's be honest, in the sense of like, I get irritated, and that's what I do, is I lash out at the closest people around me, and unfortunately it can get very mean. I don't know where I get this stuff or like why I hold on to everything that I say, but I am working on it. It's a conscious effort, because now I can actually realize, like, when I'm doing the act right in the middle, I'm like, oh man, you're being bad.
I'm being an asshole.
You're being a reel it back. Reel it back. So I'm just really thankful that I have a really awesome partner who puts up with that shit. And still goes out and gets me things that I need late nights.
Right. Nope. I agree with you 100%. I'm super thankful for that as well. So.
Yeah.
But on that note, girl, I think we say, we might not be here next week.
No,
we're not 100% sure if I'm going to have good enough internet. I have good enough internet to work, but I may not have good enough internet to stream. So we are going to test it out and see what happens. Maybe I'll go live like on Facebook, see if it is choppy and crappy.
Right.
So we're going to have to play next week by ear. We're not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to do it. So yeah, we may see you next week. We may not see you next week.
Who knows? Maybe we'll replay the bug episode.
What was that?
I said maybe we'll replay the bug episode.
Oh, we should. If I can't stream live, we'll replay the bug episode. Yep. I like that idea. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us for our deep episode tonight and sticking in with us. Yeah. So until next week, we might see you next week.
Who knows? Bye.